Sometimes, when I close my eyes, I relive past events. I am transported next to the men and women who wrote history. I move through their lives like a ghost of the future. I am a messenger of memories, a link between our time and their world. My voice will guide you through these episodes to bring back their stories as they appeared to me. I am warm and comfortable in an armchair. Around me, men are talking in English with a strong American accent. My eyes open. I am in a beautiful large room in the City Hall of Verdun. The walls are made of wood and paintings are hung there. The room has been transformed into the headquarters of the Allies. A massive table is placed in the middle with a large map of the Ardennes on it. All around are stationed purple velvet seats. There are several great generals present, who I've only ever seen in history books. First, there is Dwight Eisenhower, who presides over the assembly. Generals Bradley and Devers, with General Officers Strong and Tedder, and many others. An American general is the centre of attention. He is in his 60s and has white hair. He wears cavalry boots and is armed with a Colt with an ivory stock attached to his belt. There is no doubt about it. It can only be General Patton. He is in charge of the 3rd US Army, which is currently bogged down in the Saarbrücken region, close to the French border. He has just declared to the other officers of the General Staff that they should redeploy half of their 6 infantry divisions to the Ardennes front in only 48 hours. He's easy on the words, but he sounds confident. Eisenhower remains incredulous. This is because the German offensive in the Ardennes was uncertain on December 19, 1944. The city of Bastogne was practically surrounded, with nearly 20,000 soldiers trapped, and reinforcements had to arrive as soon as possible, so he decided to trust him. In 3 days, at dawn on the 22nd of December, Patton will be in Bastogne with at least 3 of his divisions. I then leave the softness of my armchair to find myself in a cold tent. It is the morning of December the 22nd. Patton is wearing the same clothes as 3 days ago. This morning he wears a little round helmet on top of his head. The offensive is about to begin. He is inwardly jubilant. He succeeded in his bet to turn his troops to counter the Germans on the Ardennes front. The rain, fog and snow did not prevent him from approaching Bastogne via Luxembourg. The icing on the cake was that all of his divisions were ready to attack, not just half of them. Yet I sense that his excitement is not just about the upcoming fights. There is something else, like an act of personal revenge. I can read his thoughts. This battle could be the big battle that he has missed in this war. Of course, he had already participated in the North Africa campaign, the Sicily landing and the Lorraine breakthrough, but he missed the great landing in Normandy. The glory was taken away from him. He thinks back to the big reason for his ousting. I can hear the blows he is giving to his 2 soldiers on their hospital beds in Sicily. 2 soldiers suffering from post-traumatic shock and whom he threatened to have shot. He doesn't regret it. He still doesn't understand what the big deal was. After this incident, he was sidelined, dividing public opinion and keeping him away from D-Day. Worse, he had to pretend to command a phantom army to deceive the enemy by making them believe that the landing would take place in the Pas de Calais. This battle must be his hour of glory. He has to prevent the biggest offensive led by the Germans on the Western Front since 1940. Breaking the siege of Bastogne is symbolic, but this symbol is crucial. Patton is ready. He is a man of war. He's always loved combat. He leaves his tent and goes to motivate his men before the battle, like Caesar back in his day. He is respected and knows how to find the right words, even if they are sometimes rough. The battle will be historic and uncertain. The outcome of the war depends on it. We must save the brave Americans besieged by the Nazis, not to die for their country, but to make sure that the bastards on the other side die for theirs. The soldiers listened to him. When I open my eyes again, 4 days have passed since this horrible battle started. Since yesterday, it has been snowing heavily. The temperature is well below zero. This morning, a soldier could not go back to the battle. His foot had frozen. It had to be amputated. Bastogne is now within reach. We are gaining ground. Hour after hour, meter after meter. The fighting rages on. I am with a small unit in a forest on the outskirts of the city. The enemy soldiers are waiting for us. Yesterday, other units had tried to take the wood but had been pushed back. We have to move forward so that our tanks can free the men trapped in the hell of Bastogne. The officer in charge of our unit gives the command. We rush into the snow. There is a heavy exchange of fire on both sides. Some men fall. We get closer to the Germans, who don't retreat, moving from tree to tree. A commander takes a knife out of his jacket. He holds it in his left hand, his pistol in his other hand. The soldiers imitate him. We are too close for our guns. Everyone is hidden behind a tree or a rock. I am with a young soldier, Carlson. He looks stunned. Another GI is reassuring him as best he can. I am as scared as they are. I am afraid for them. The commander runs forward in a new assault. We follow him at once. The fire of a German immediately mows him down, posted a few meters away, but the attack continues. Carlson advances. His friend is with him. A German appears behind a large stump covered by snow. It is too late to shoot. The two bodies collide. The enemy is no longer impersonal. He has suddenly become a man. He is young, with brown hair and brown eyes. Carlson and the German begin to fight like in a street fight. Neither of them really gets the upper hand. The other GI does not dare intervene for fear of hurting his friend. In the snow, the two bodies slide and wrestle on the ground. By chance, I see Carlson above the German. He stabs him in the temple. It was a kill or be killed situation. Blood spurts down the face and uniform of the young man. Carlson lays down beside the enemy he has killed. The ground is frozen, but he sweats profusely. He shakes from head to toe. His friend helps him to get up. We must not stay there. We continue our way towards the edge of the wood. The other soldiers have pushed the Germans back. They finally reach the outskirts of Bastogne. The fight is won, but at what cost? We must now hold our position. The reinforcements will be here soon. The enemy's tanks are facing us. They are already shooting at us. A non-commissioned officer sets up a machine gun and an artillery piece to answer them. Carlson is helping him when a shell hits a frozen tree just ahead of me. The trunk is cut in half. It wobbles, collapses to my left, and passes right over my head. Behind me, Carlson's friend has his head blown off. Carlson turns around and stops. He steps back and begins to move away. He is no longer with us. The shock of his friend's death has cut him off from the world. I want to reassure him, to tell him that it is only a bad nightmare. It is, however, his reality. I can hear his cries. Porzio's head was blown off. Porzio's head has been blown off. So his name was Porzio. I next find myself sitting in General Patton's jeep. The siege of Bastogne was lifted by the tanks of the 4th Armoured Division. The battle was a great success. The general has already started the reconquest of the north of Bastogne. We stop in the village of Chinon. German and Allied bombs have been falling on it like a destructive storm since the beginning of the offensive. There is almost nothing left of the town. All the houses have been hit. A few hours earlier, the general had heard of a massacre of German prisoners by his units. That is why he is going to the scene. He did not want his units to commit the same crimes that the Germans were accused of. He hoped to keep this new incident from the press. Since the Sicily slap incident, he is more worried about the consequences. The general gets out of his car and goes to meet the officer in charge of the attack on Chinon. He wants to understand what happened, even though he already suspects what happened. Perhaps these soldiers wanted to take revenge for their brothers in arms who were massacred in the same way. In the village, the bodies of civilians and soldiers are left abandoned on the side of the road. Like all the buildings, the school was destroyed. However, the blackboard in the classroom has surprisingly remained standing. A sentence has been written on it. I decide to venture into the debris to read it. It is written in German. I leave General Patton and the Ardennes to return to my room. After these terrible fights, General Patton and the Allies took back the territory at the end of January 1945 before continuing on to Germany. Blood has been spilled. Now it's time to rebuild. Has this story touched you? Then it's time to go to the Land of Memory territory to immerse yourself in this adventure in the very place where it took place. The itinerary, General Patton and the American Army can be discovered on the website landofmemory.eu to visit the Schumannseck, the Peace Wood or Patton Square.